Hello once again, fateful retrospective viewer. As with our coverage of Higurashi Go, I want to once again throw up a spoiler warning. If you're not caught up to the recent Higurashi series, I would highly advise not watching this video as myself and my co-host will be going into full spoilers throughout. I would also like to be candid for a second. These are obviously just our opinions. In Bearded Kuriboh's case, his initial reaction to the season, and myself having watched the series twice now. As much as I've tried to keep up with other people's opinions, I'm not entirely sure what the general consensus of the season is. So just as a heads up, I guess, considering that we know next to nothing about a certain other series that is highly alluded to throughout seasons 5 and 6, our opinions are more than likely different to that of someone who is a bigger fan and knows all the tiny details and all of the spin-offs and continuations and blah 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 blah. I do think we've tried to remain fair in our opinions, but I would also understand if someone thought we were just hating on it for no reason. The long and short of it is, opinions are a thing, we might have different ones to yours, and they very well might change over time. Who knows? With all that out of the way, please enjoy this podcast review. I don't know about anyone else, but to me, the ending of an episode, an arc, a series, a film, a franchise, is arguably the most important thing to get right. You can have the most spectacular, riveting, wondrous events happen, but if you fall at that final hurdle, then that can honestly ruin the entire experience for me. In the case of franchise media, there is an opportunity to have multiple endings. While Power Rangers is still ongoing for almost 30 years now, it has technically had 3 endings in the form of the final episodes for In Space, Wild Force, and RPM. My favourite comedy series, Community, while it has 6 seasons and hopefully a movie someday, you could make the case that Series 3 neatly capped off the story, with seasons 4, 5 and 6 just showing what happened next. Hell, I know people who only saw Series 1 to 4 of Doctor Who stopped watching once David Tennant and Russell T Davies left the show. And some might argue they made the right choice. And for Higurashi, currently, in 2021, we have a new ending. The 4th ending, I believe, to the anime at least. So the real question is, how does this ending compare to its predecessors? Was Season 5 and 6 worth it? Well, we can't speak for the majority, but here's what we think. Welcome, my friends, to Higurashi, the Anime Retrospective, the podcast review of Series 6, Sotsu. And then hopefully the theme song will play.
You're the one editing it, so it doesn't play, it's on your head.
Yeah. Hello, and welcome to Crewe on the Sofa, but you already knew that. I, as always, am Michael Crewe, and joining me once again to talk about all things stabby in the land of the rising sun, I'm joined by the Bearded Kuriboh. How you doing, mate?
Hello, I am doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I am tired.
Just mood.
Yes, there's no surprise there. So obviously earlier this year we talked about Series 5, Go, and we said we'd come back for Series 6. Here we are!
Yes!
We're here to talk about it.
I've never regretted something so much.
We haven't talked about our thoughts and opinions about this yet. I obviously watched Sotsu as it was airing week to week. You marathoned it over the course of like 14, 15 days, haven't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Like one a day. So I haven't heard any of your opinions about it yet.
I'm kind of hoping we're on the same wavelength here, but we'll
It'll
see.
be very interesting if we're not. It's about
Yeah.
time we had some conflict on here. So I have notes. You have notes.
I do have
Notes.
many of a note.
Let's start with just some general series broad strokes, like stuff that covers the entire series. Obviously, the animation is still wonderful. It's bright. It's colourful. These characters look amazing. Dramatic moments are dramatic. Scary moments are sort of scary when they're not censored by random black voids that appear out of nowhere.
I was so confused.
It's weird. They censor some bits, but then they also don't censor other ones. Like I vividly remember seeing Rena's eye pop out of her head when Keiichi hit her with the baseball bat.
Yeah.
But I think if you go back and watch the episode in Go where it happens, and then when it happens here in Sotsu, I think it's censored now. Like it happens. There's always going to be censorship, I guess.
Yeah.
But obviously, when the DVDs and Blu-rays are released, you would hope that those censored bits aren't there.
Yeah.
The music, as always, is wonderful and great. The voice acting, both sub and dub, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
This time round, I saw the first 9 episodes dubbed when I did the rewatch, and then I rewatched the sub for the latter half of the series. And honestly, the more that I listen to this English dubcast, the more I fall in love with them.
I think obviously because the original series, the first season at the very least, did have English dub. I think there was just a little bit of transition, but the more we hear it, the more we get used to it, the more we feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And I think they're obviously growing into characters. Don't know if we'll ever see them again now, though, but, you know.
I really do. I mentioned this in the retrospective. I do hope that they somehow get the rights to go back and do redub series 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, I would very much enjoy that.
Oh yeah, I'd be well up for more. I don't want to use the word content, but there you go. I'd be well up for more content from.
Woo! Content.
Yay! From the English dubcast. I actually want to start off by talking about the opening title sequence. It took a couple of episodes for it to grow on me, but I do quite like it.
Yeah, I very much like the animation aspect of it. I definitely prefer it to last season's one.
Okay.
I don't think it leaves an impact on me, but that doesn't mean it's bad.
No, the visuals are great, as always.
Just wondering, did you know that bit where Rika and Psycho, like, in Psycho series, they just moved in together? It's like, have they got a kiss? Every time they just go, ooh?
No. You see, you don't understand. They're very good friends.
Oh, I see. Sorry, my bad.
There is a surprise. Well, not a surprising amount. There was discourse about people being like, "No, they're just friends. They're not romantically entwined or anything. They're not doing this for romantic interests." And the first thing I thought of was this Phoenix Wright comic where someone's crushing on Edgeworth, and Phoenix just goes, "No, you see this man? This is a gay man," pointing at Edgeworth. I've never really been a Sotoko and Rika shipper, but if you told me, like even like 2 or 3 years ago, that these two were going like these two end up in a relationship, I wouldn't have been surprised.
So for me, I think I wouldn't mind either way. It's one of those things. Like, I think the relationship they do have could quite clearly go down a romantic one, but if not, it's no harm, no foul. I do think it's a bit of like teasing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think if they did actually properly just full on kiss at some point, I think that would have been a lot more effective than just them not.
Yeah.
Right, I guess is that enough beating around the bush?
I guess so, yes.
Okay. I want to start with literally the first note that I wrote down for demon revealing. You obviously start with showing everyone getting ready for school and that. Rika taking the note off of the calendar, being like, "Oh no, yeah, everything's fine." Walking away, we cut to Satoko being like, "I'm gonna make you relive 1983 forever," and I've just put, "Sadako is a fucking bitch."
Yeah.
I do like that they do, like, particularly with these first 13 episodes, they do just show the like another angle to the stuff we saw in Go.
Mm.
And while that is certainly a questionable decision, for me, I found that it worked reasonably well to varying degrees throughout the course of the episodes, and we'll go into that as we go along.
I'm going to jump ahead here for a second, so just go with me on this.
Okay.
So, like I said, the first how many episodes it was just repeating stuff from last season, just from Psycho's point of view for part of it.
Yeah.
And I just made this note. Well,
Yep.
I've made no notes for this episode. Why should I waste my time? It's interesting to see how Psycho has changed events, but it means completely nothing after 8 episodes. I could infer all of this after the first couple of episodes. There's nothing keeping my interest now. While wasting my time, I'm going to read some One Piece.
Oh wow. Okay.
It really annoyed me. And
Wow.
another thing, like early on when we go through the episodes, you'll see I really enjoyed the first couple of episodes.
Yeah.
Because I found it really interesting seeing how Psycho was moving chess pieces.
Mm.
But it got to a point where it's like, well, I've seen this now. I've seen how you've changed events, and it's not that interesting after 8 episodes. And here's the thing: we were complaining about the repeating aspect of last season, seeing as most of it was just a copy from season 1 with just some things changed. I think I could have stomached this more if it was shorter.
Yes.
It didn't need to be this long. It was testing my patience, and one of the things I really do believe: do not waste my time. I am busy. We have hundreds of thousands of things trying to grab our attention. If you waste my time, I am going to go watch something else.
I can see where you're coming from, and I don't disagree. I think it's one of those things that we'll talk about mainly in the curse revealing arc, because I think that's where it's most egregious.
Mm.
I do wonder if there is a way to tell the story of Go and Sotsu in a more, first of all, condensed fashion.
Yeah.
But also expanding on things that we actually want to be expanded on, which I think, again, is something that we'll get onto a little bit later. But Demon Revealing is a quasi... like it takes a couple of events from my favourite arc, Atonement, and sort of smooshes it into Spirited Away by the Demon.
Quite a lot of my notes was like, oh, I find it so interesting how Psycho's changing this, and you can see it from Renner's point of view. And just how the paranoia affects you. I thought that it really got that feeling across to you during these episodes. I think this is very similar to last season as well. I think like the first couple of episodes, because you're back and it's new, it's like, oh, this is really exciting. Like I know some of it's a little bit repeated, but you know the new stuff are getting really interested again. I think you get hooked for this, but then they use the same magic trick for the use of their word every single time. And it kind of uses that muster. But for this first part, I thought it was very effective.
One thing I will give this arc, Demon Revealing, I like following things from Renner's perspective. Give her a spin-off. I don't know if this says something about Japanese schools, English schools, or just schools in different countries, but I was kind of surprised that they have beds in the nurse's office. And you could just go and sleep in them?
Yeah. That's quite... You see it quite often in American schools, don't you? Like on...
Do you? I've never been to an American school.
Well, you see it like movies and TV shows, I'm presuming it somewhat.
Yeah.
realistic.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
the back in my day, the best we had is you just get a wet paper towel, rub it on whatever was wrong, and you were suddenly better.
oh dude, those magic paper towels work every time. Every time.
I do like that once Sadako injects Rena, she just throws the needle in the bin.
Yeah.
Like there's not even any attempt to like. I mean, I suppose you don't really need to attempt to hide it though, do you? Because it's just like
Yeah.
what's done is done.
This is one question I do have most of the season. Does no one just go, ow, what was that prick? Oh, there you are, Psycho.
Look, okay. In Rena's defense, she was asleep.
Okay, she has the one out. What
No,
about
yeah, no.
Holy
Okay,
shit.
no. We'll get to Mion's in like in a little bit because I think that's because I've got a great anecdote.
I hate when you're nitpicking a show, but I think that sometimes reflects the quality of the show. Every time I'm just like, why does no one notice?
Nitpicking can work in two ways. There's the nitpicking way of like, oh hey, I enjoyed this, but there's one or two small things that are a bit funny, whatever, blah blah blah. Or if you dislike something, the nitpicks can make a leave a much bigger impact.
Yeah. I'm just quickly reading my notes.
No worries.
Wow, dick move, mom. Bloody hell, woman, you are terrible at this.
Oh yeah, so there's a flashback to when Rena was a child.
Yes.
And it's revealed that her mum is having an affair, wants to divorce her dad, and is already pregnant with Rena's stepsister. Because we have that flashback in Atonement, and it's really good. But I also really like it here as well. The problem I have is Rena's dad slapping her maybe a bit too easily.
But everything in the backstory was like really captivating. It doesn't really actually say a lot about Rena.
I was very surprised that Ritsuko, Rena, whatever you want to call her, is given like her own little mini redemption.
Yeah.
By being like, oh hey, like this guy's spending all of his money on me. But I really wish he wouldn't. I know he's got a teenage daughter. I came from a single parent. I know what that's like. I was like, oh no, that's good, but why? I was so conflicted, and that's the best thing. Okay, so there are so many instances in both Go and Sotsu where they have a very what I guess is meant to be like a very creepy scene. But when a lot of these creepy scenes happen, I kind of burst into laughter.
Same.
So the one I'm particularly thinking of, it's when so at this point Rena thinks that Keiichi has seen her hiding the dead body. So she's like, Keiichi knows, I need to know if he knows, and she's kind of maybe not stalking, well, maybe kind of stalking, but she's like following him and stuff. And it's specifically this bit where she's like staring at him while he's washing his things, and it's just like there's a bit where Rena, when she's hiding the body, she's like, I've got to work harder, I've got to work harder. I've put Rena wants to work harder, better, faster, stronger.
Please, someone animate that.
Please. I know I said I really like the dub cast, but I really, really like the dub voice of Rena. She has some legit range. I'm going to see if I can find her name actually real quick. I'm probably going to botch this name, so do please forgive me. It's like Emilo, Emilo is the voice of Rena for the dub, and legitimate, like, she's never going to hear this, but legitimately, I think she's wonderful. I've never been disappointed with anyone who's been cast as Rena.
No.
Across the board. Like, obviously, the original Japanese VA is Rena. I like the original dub voice. I like this dub voice. I like my cast members' dubbed voice. No, there has never been a bad portrayal of this character, I think. No, and I realise that that's a very strong thing to say, but that's my opinion.
Another thing, when Rena is scratching her neck, the sound effect on that, it was French kiss.
Mm.
Really, I love the crunchiness to it. Oh, love a bit of
Very crunchy neck you've got there, Renner.
oh.
Overall, I honestly really enjoyed the demon revealing arc.
I would agree. Yeah, like I think some of the notes was like, like looking through my notes, like, oh, this is very interesting. I want to see how this goes out. But as I think I've mentioned previously, I think some of the time, this might be different because you did do a second rewatch. But for me, because it was like the first part of the season, it was still exciting. It was still new.
Yeah.
And then, but further on you get, you see the same tropes and stuff, and it's not as exciting or interesting the third or fourth time you sing it.
Do we have anything else to say about demon revealing?
All the question I've got is, how much blood does Renna have in her?
I think that, well, to be fair, I think that goes for all of them. Like, they do just one little prick, and it's like sprinklers are on.
Just like it's like a water balloon just full of blood.
Isn't there like an actual medical condition where some people, if they get a prick, they do just start spurting blood immediately?
Oh yeah, it's like I think it's like when your blood's very thin or something like that.
Yeah. So maybe the entire cast of Hinamizawa, the entire village, just has very thin blood. So then we head on to Cotton revealing. There's an important detail raised here that if Sadako dies before Rika, then she won't be able to follow her into the next loop. Or at least will be born into a world where Rika doesn't exist. Which is honestly a very interesting concept. And it is the biggest Chekhov's gun misfire I have ever seen in my life. Like, they set that up. Like, I think that was really good setup, and I was like, oh. And then nothing came of it. And I would really have liked to have seen that.
I think, like, I hope people. I'm going to come grumpy throughout this season. I do apologise for that, but it's so infuriating. It's just infuriating because we love this show. Like I say, we were raving about it last year. I keep saying it's last year, but 6 months ago. God, COVID times. What can we say? Everything feels like 10 years.
It's been 84 years.
They have these little bits of like, oh, that'll be very intriguing and that'll be exciting. Okay, let's push that to the side. Back to the repeating stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
We get introduced to, well, not introduced, we get reintroduced to the new Tepe very early on, and man, he has been whipped. When we first see the beginnings of his redemption, he still feels like Tepe, but he's trying harder to be a good, like a good person. When he's introduced here, he has been whipped, man. Like, is this even the same guy anymore? Which I guess is kind of the point.
Yeah. It's a bit weird, isn't it?
It is a little bit weird. I'm not sure if I'm there for it, but at the same time, considering what Satoko puts him through, I do question if he doesn't deserve it.
And yeah.
Also, side note, his dub voice reminds me of Jack Black. Another very interesting thing that's mentioned, and this might just be a like a dubism thing, but when they go to the racetrack and they win the money, Satoko's obviously used her advanced looping ability, whatever, to to find out which horse is going to win, to then bet on it. She says it only works once, or that ability only works once, when I can vividly remember her using it multiple times in the space of a couple of seconds to win that card game.
Yeah.
In one of the other arcs.
I just kind of internalize it as, oh, this will stop him from asking me to do it every single time.
I guess. I mean, in any case, the extent to Satoko's looping ability is a little bit undefined.
Yeah.
I joked last time that whenever she does get something wrong, she just kind of like stabs herself out of nowhere, loops back like 4 weeks into the past, has to relive everything just to get back to that one instance again. The fact is, we just don't know. We just don't know if that's actually part of her abilities or not, or if she can literally go back milliseconds in the same arc, have essentially a do-over.
Yeah, and like they're very fast and like with how the rules work, especially
Fast and loose, yeah.
fast and loose, especially later on.
Oh, yeah.
You like even the few rules they have set up, they do break them. So it's like if you have rules in a show in a universe, you need to stick to them. Because once you start breaking them, it's like a rug. Pull one thread, they all start going to come undone.
Yeah. Mion is able to access Ultra Instinct. Not the first and not for the last time this series.
No.
Nope. Okay, right. So, Mion is the subject of going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in this arc. I like to imagine that she got injected in the butt. There is no way that Satoko just like she has to have been, because she's like, oh man, what drink do I want? Bending over, Satoko's just looking at it like just in the butt. And the thing is, her butt is apparently so dense that she doesn't even feel it.
I do not want to go down this rabbit hole.
Just saying, Mion thick. Okay, so this was the thing that really confused me. You've got to remember that during the course of Sotsu airing, I was actually editing together the retrospective. At the beginning of episode 2, we see Mion leaving Angel Mort after finishing a shift there.
Yeah.
So Mion not only works at the toy shop, but she also works at Angel Mort? I thought that's where Shion worked. Is she just covering for Shion? If she's just covering for Shion for a shift, that's fine. But otherwise, this just makes Shion look like the laziest fucking bitch in the entire fucking world. And I do not put it past her.
I can't remember perfectly, but like everyone in the village now knows that she exists, right?
Like they know that Shion is at least in Okinomiya, which is like the next town over. It's like a hour's bike ride away. They know about the Sonozaki sisters. It's not, yeah.
Because my only thing, like once again, maybe making excuses. Maybe she's just working under the name of Mion.
Well, no, because at that point, like the only reason she pretended to be Mion when they set the whole thing up in 1982 was because they wanted to keep her secret. Like they didn't want the family to find out that Shion was there. The only reason that either of them would pretend to be the other is literally just to trick people, which is not something that it's not something that they wouldn't do.
No, but why would they do it? To do a job?
Yeah. So it is. I think it is literally Mion working for the other Yoshiro in this point, and it's just confusing.
Yeah.
At this point, it's like I said in the retrospective. There are levels to them, like the fact that they were born under each other's names and then swapped it. It's just like you don't need this extra layer of complication. Also, can we just let Mion be happy?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a good girl.
I really like the relationship building they were doing. It's like it was sweet. It was very sweet.
Here's the thing. So when Mion gets home, like a little later in the episode, and she looks at the doll in the English dub, she says, "Hey you," and I kid you not, I nearly had a fucking heart attack.
Fucking tiny little cage.
No, like the little doll thing. She just says, "Hey you," and it's like, oh my god, that is so precious. Ah. Let her be happy! Okay, right, sorry. This is a line in the dub, and I posted about this on Twitter, and I really fucking love it. When they're making curry at school, in the dub, Keiichi calls Satoko a goblin, and
Yes.
and in that moment, in that single word, Keiichi was wholeheartedly redeemed for every single fucking thing he ever did in the entirety of the series. This man can do no wrong. So I actually got distracted for like the latter half of episode of episode 5. It would be like Mion killing Shion is just wonderfully done.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I'm fully on Mion's side for this, leagues more than I ever was for Shion. And again, bear in mind, while I was watching this series, I was working on the eye-opening arc, which I had been digesting over the course of like 4 months. I had seen Shion's perspective and her understanding as to why she did everything almost on loop. But then just here, I just got Mion's thing a hell of a lot more. And yeah, there is a bit of like one of the problems I have with Shion is that I can't detach her OTT murder personality from when she's not doing that.
Yeah.
Even now, with Mion doing murdery stuff, finally, for the first time, that hasn't, like, tainted her, if you know what I mean? Like she's still in my top 3 favourite characters.
I mean, personally, I think this arc just lends us... It's probably the best one to lend to it, to this retelling, because of how many moving pieces it has and how you can rearrange those pieces. And obviously, I'm a big Shion fan. A little bit just to mess with you.
What? Why? I don't fucking care.
Yes, you do.
No, I honestly don't.
And just a little bit because I love a good wind-up merchant. And she is a wind-up merchant.
Yeah.
But, like, say, if I was going to watch, let's say, like, the original season and then these 2 retellings,
Yeah.
I think this would be the one I would go to.
Yeah.
Because I think it probably works the best. I mean, we both really enjoyed the last arc.
Yep.
I think that did work really well because of... I think it worked a lot better this season than the last season just because of how it merged the 2 seasons together and you see a bit more of Renner's perspective. But this one, because it's a murder mystery, where there's 2 suspects, it works really well.
Yeah. Right, we're getting close to what you want to talk about now. Mion choking out Rika was fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Like, I loved it. That was so fucking cool. The fact that she just grabs her, it's just holding her up, and is just like, tell me what I need to know, is just, that is unbelievably fucking cool.
And you know what I really like? That wasn't Sadako's plan.
Yeah! Like, she had no clue! She had no clue what was going on!
Yeah,
that's exactly the kind of thing that should have happened more.
Oh, that would be so interesting, wouldn't it? Like, trying to set these chess pieces up and then everyone keeps fucking it up for her.
Yeah. I'll mention it later. We'll come back to it. But Sadako's plan does just keep going far too well for her.
Yeah.
But we'll mention that more a bit later. So last time I did sort of jokingly sort of hoped that Satoko had been the one to kill Rika by drowning her in a toilet. What we got was so much better.
Oh my god, it was hilarious.
It was so fucking funny. It was so funny. And I don't know if it was meant to be funny.
I don't think it
was so funny.
Just get in there. Ugh.
No, literally. No, the thing that got me was obviously her like holding Rika over the septic tank, dropping her, and then just the slow pan down to Rika just sort of stuck in the bowl with her giant bobblehead and arms. You're just holding it for a couple of seconds, and then Mion just stomping on her repeatedly. I fell in the toilet.
Like, I've been grumpy for all this. Just remembering that has made me so much happier.
Is it the best scene in the entirety of Go and Satsu? Maybe. I can't I would assume that she said this in the Go version of the arc, but Mion saying you looked at me like a normal girl really hit me this time.
Yeah.
It really hit me this time. I have wondered for a very long time, and I actually did want to put this in the retrospective in some shape, way, or form, but didn't. I really want to know what Mion wants to do with her life, or if
Yeah.
she did have like some dream of oh hey, when I grow up I want to be, I don't know, but obviously she can't do that now because she's kind of been forced to become the head of the Sonozaki family.
Yeah.
I genuinely feel bad for Mion. She didn't want any of this. Everything bad. Mion goes through the absolute shitter. All of her friends keep dying. She gets constantly blamed for murder and stuff like this, and she's just a good girl. Let her live. I mean, I'm a Keiichi and Rena shipper, but as time's gone on, I've been very much like, no, Mion,
No,
be
I
happy.
don't want to see Mion.
No, the true pairing is Rena and Mion. Cut Keiichi out of the picture entirely. Those two will be better. Right, so this is something that we kind of touched on a little bit briefly. I do wonder if Satoko is maybe a bit OP sometimes. She like things go too well for her, and maybe she's too prepared. That's kind of what she wants, though. Like her whole thing is, oh hey, I'm setting traps upon traps to get Rika to do what I want. It just goes too well for her sometimes, and that kind of ruins the tension. Overall, I do feel like this is another. Again, I really enjoy this. It might be one of my favorite versions of the cotton, eye-opening style arcs. I personally find it very interesting that after donkey's years of Shion being referred to as a yandere when she really kind of isn't, that Ryuka Shin, the author, obviously goes, "Oh, you think this is a yandere? Let me give you two in the form of Satoko and Mion." At this point, I was still really enjoying it, you know?
For me, personally, I would say in isolation, I would agree with everything you just said there.
Yeah.
But as part of a greater narrative,
yeah,
it's starting to push me at this point.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think it's actually a really good story. It just has to be in isolation.
But I do think, much like with my previous experiences with Higurashi, watching a single arc in one go is a more fulfilling experience.
Yeah,
I find, at least.
I think that maybe it's the way we approach the watch things, because I did a marathon run, watching one every single day for 2 weeks. I mean, that's a subject for another day. How should you approach a TV show?
Yeah. As we start cursor revealing, one of the first scenes of this arc is Sadako and Rika talking at the shrine, and I believe Satoko says the word blasphemy at some point, as if like, oh hey, leaving the village is very blasphemous for the priestess of Oishiro. And maybe because I'm working towards Doctor Who stuff, I just heard at the back of my head, "Those words are blasphemy!
Do not blaspheme!
Do not blaspheme!
Do not blaspheme!"
Since when did the Daleks have a concept of blasphemy?
But no, this scene you're talking about is fantastic.
It's a really good scene. It's a really good scene.
I literally think I put something like, please can we have more of this? Can we keep with this?
The thing that I find kind of confusing about Satoko wanting to remain in Hinamizawa is she says, the people of Hinamizawa have been here to protect and nurture us for all of our lives. Smash cut to when Satoko was younger and her whole family was getting persecuted for the dam conflict, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think what what she means more than anything is that she just wants to be with Rika.
Yeah, she's willing to trade her values for that ultimate thing.
Yeah. No, yeah, so, like I mentioned last time, with Tepe being whipped, I'm not gonna lie, it is kind of sweet seeing him care so much and trying to be better for Satoko. But with everything that Satoko has now done, is it maybe too good for her?
I mentioned earlier in episode 8, I got really annoyed because it was so repetitive. I stopped making notes.
Yeah.
I went off to read a bit of manga, and I got really annoyed and more annoyed. So I came back to do some more notes. I understand why they've done this. The whole redeeming of Psycho's uncle, and then her manipulating it, and then her portraying a trauma victim. And it just feel this is just me. If this doesn't bother other people, that's completely fine. So it's no right or wrong, I think, but it just doesn't feel right for me. It's just really uncomfortable. She is a victim. She has had trauma in her life. She has been abused. We have seen this in quite a lot of detail in previous seasons, and it has affected her to this season. I think part of the reason why she has such an attachment to Rika is because of these events.
Yeah.
And the fact she is now faking it, it just does not feel right. And like I said, I can't blame anyone for enjoying this or disagreeing with it because there is no right or wrong.
Yeah.
Just for me personally,
Yeah, it is emotional manipulation on her front.
Yeah.
So at one point, it's mentioned that Keiichi had a dream about Satoko. I can't remember if this was mentioned or even shown in Go. My initial thoughts is that it was about a previous loop, maybe. So, like, I thought, oh god, is he remembering stuff from Demon revealing or Cotton revealing and that? But nothing really comes of it. I think I can remember something. Like, I remember there's a bit where it's just him and Satoko in his house. But I can't remember if that was really shown as a dream or not.
Couldn't say without checking.
Another example of a potentially creepy thing that just turned out to be funny. Satoko rolling around in the dirt. Right, okay, so episode 8 actually ends with the vomiting scene. And Aowa, who I realise we've never actually mentioned in this whole podcast so far. She was. I previously called her Feverine. I did that because I didn't know how to pronounce her Higurashi name, which is apparently Aowa, which is a very dumb name. It reminds me of Tim Allen's catchphrase, where he's like, and
I was thinking more like how Northern people say hello to her. Hey, Aowa.
Aowa?
Hey, Aowa. Hey, Aowa, go down, tune.
Anyway, she calls Satoko a witch. How did that make you feel? What was your initial thought there?
You know how males like talk sometimes like, "Oh, that person's such a witch. She was mean to me that one time."
Yeah.
It kind of feels like that to me. Just like,
really, is that the impression you got?
I didn't think she had magic powers. I mean, she can jump through time. She can produce a gun from anywhere, apparently.
So it's an important Umineko thing. The spin-off continuation. Rika and now Satoko's other selves are referred to as witches. And this was a big and obviously when this first aired, a lot of people were like, "Oh!" Obviously, I don't know a lot about Umineko. I know that it's a thing. I know the significance of the witches, but obviously you don't. You know next to nothing, and I just I wonder what that revelation conditional clause had on you.
I didn't even realize it was a revelation. I let you in. All right, moving on.
All right, next episode.
Like, I keep forgetting that. What is it? Umineko?
Umineko.
Umineko. I keep forgetting that's even a thing.
I mean, like, I'll touch a little more on Umineko a little later on because it will become important.
But this is the first time like we've discussed Higurashi for a couple of years now, ever since I got into the show from your retrospectives.
Yeah.
This is the first time it's ever really been brought up, like
Yeah.
the podcast. It's like, why should I know now? I mean, like, do they need to be part of the same thing? I just don't know.
I will say it is the sequel, the quasi sequel to Higurashi. Like, so I've collected a bunch of the manga, and I was actually flicking through a couple recently, like a month or two back. And there's a couple little bits of artwork where they have characters dressed as Umineko characters, and then there's like a mini comic where Rika sort of like offhandedly references her witch counterparts and what would eventually turn out to be Satoko's witch counterpart. In a little thing.
Wait.
What?
So in in episode 10, where we get the two different versions of her. Is that from? Oh.
I'll explain it more when we get there.
Oh no.
I'll explain it more when we get there. That reaction is a reaction. I noticed that episode 9 seemed to have like an improved lighting and shadow, better animation for different things for some reason.
Yeah, I think the later half, like the where the animation budget really went. It's like it's not throughout any of it, but you can tell where this is where it's spent a bit more for like reasons. You can understand.
I mean, like, let's be honest, that's the real reason they redid the arcs twice.
Yeah,
it's so they could reuse animation.
Yeah, like most of that have episode 9 really. It's like the episode like really interesting developments in it. But I just don't want to keep my hope up, and that's what the show was doing to me. It's like, oh, this is really cool and interesting, but am I just going to go back to the status quo in an episode's time?
Yeah, I felt really I really do like and hate how conflicted I am about Teppei. He's just trying to do a good job. He just wants to live. He just wants to live with his niece. He literally says that, and then he puts a fucking blanket around her, and I'm like, he's trying so hard. He's trying so hard. He's a good. He's well. He's not a good guy. He's fine. I never expected in a million years that Oishi would have been the one to go level 5 in this arc, even though we already knew he kind of was at the beginning of the cat deceiving arc.
Oh, I think I put some notes of this. It was just like, I want more crazy Oishi. He is the most fun character ever.
I'm not gonna lie, I initially was very confused what Oishi's methodology was by smashing the shrine and pissing on the arch and all this stuff. It honestly took the English dub to be like, he's trying to make Teppei a target for Oyashiro's curse.
Yeah.
But it's still just kind of odd to me. What did putting trash outside of the house actually do? I don't know. It's just a very weird plan.
Yeah.
Weird plan. I do like this is episode 10 we're on now, where I've gone back to the sub because there's no more episodes of the dub yet. I do like that there is at least some part of Satoko willing to forgive Teppei.
Yes, I do agree with that.
That's very cool and provides the first crack in her psyche, so to speak.
I would so much prefer it if it didn't turn out to be two versions of her.
Satoko's fractured psyche is arguably really cool. Arguably. Your exclamation from earlier clearly shows that you're not fond of it. No. So the basic idea is that, and we do see shades of this in Rika when she goes through her initial 100-year loops, that her psyche kind of fractures into two people. You've got normal Rika, who sort of like experiences everything, and then you've got, let's call them the fragmented version.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at least in the manga version for the Massacre arc, when she first wakes up after being killed, she meets like another version of herself, who calls herself Frederica Berncastle. And she does identify herself as a different person from Rika. The difference between Rika and Satoko is that Rika kind of gets on with it, you know? Satoko kind of revels for a bit in the killer mischievousness side of things. Or at least that's how I understand it. At this point where she goes to kill Tepe, and the part of her that kind of wants to keep him alive, that's where their personalities, I guess, sort of fracture and become two distinct beings. From that point onwards, good Satoko and her witch personality are two different people, and the witch personality takes over from this point onward, more or less, by literally killing Satoko with a gun in her head. I don't know. Yeah, that's my understanding of it.
Yeah. You're saying that makes my stance a bit softer, but I still, for me, when I was watching it, it felt like a cop out, and I think it comes to excuse something at the end, and we'll go into that later.
Yeah.
It just really, for me, it felt like the betrayal of the character development. I think you could,
Yeah.
I think you could still have this internal battle she could be having with herself
Yeah.
about, like, oh, he's actually being nice to me, and I think that would have been really interesting. But it was this whole, like, it kind of felt like, basically, ooh, we had good Psycho, which we all still like and will come back, and evil one, she's bad. But no, she's a character who's been messed up. She felt betrayed, and she went down a dark path, and relived her nightmares every God knows how many years. It just felt like, for me, it felt like it betrayed that.
I mean, at least Satoko realized she did wrong. You know, like she realizes that going down this path was a wrong idea, and there's a part of her that's still, and like the real Satoko doesn't want to do it anymore, but the witch personality it still has the drive to do what she needs to do.
I think that would be. I think, like I said, I think you could definitely have that molding over her head, but she then has to have the resolve to carry on.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a really nice touch to like just have a little bit of doubt before she does it,
Yeah.
and then but as herself, not two split personalities, still go through with it. So then later on in the season, we can, when things get revealed, there is still a path to go back. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think there's a spare way of doing this. I think there's a good concept there. I just think there's a better way of doing it.
So yeah, so witch Satoko, we'll just call her Satoko for now. She ends up killing Tepe. And I do remember when I first saw this being extremely intrigued and interested, because obviously, from what we saw in Go, we saw Tepe kill or attack Keiichi.
So confused. I was like, did I just remember that wrong?
No, yeah, so... And this is more of a problem for a Go, I guess. But by showing in Go that Tepe attacks Keiichi and all that stuff at the end of that arc, it betrays one of the 10 fundamental rules of creating a good mystery. It showed the audience a false narrative in order to excuse or to remove Satoko as a suspect.
The thing is,
I'm trying to think, because the fact is that they could, like, it was so easy to just not show that scene because it's a lie. Like the fact is that scene was a lie fabricated by Satoko that she tells Oishi for him to go and do what he eventually goes and does. We as an audience should not have seen that. That's just not how you tell a mystery story. And at its core, Higurashi is a mystery story. It's a murder mystery series. And there was just a really easy way to not show this. You could have had... Obviously, everyone goes to the festival. Rika does her dance. We see Satoko pulling Keiichi aside. And then that's the last we see of them in that arc. We stick with Rika, Rena, Mion, and Shion for the festival. And instead, you show what happens at the beginning of the cat deceiving arc, where Oishi turns up, shoots a couple people, and bashes Rika's head in. And that's where you end that story. The mystery then becomes, what happened to Keiichi? Where did Satoko take him? Is she okay?
Yeah.
You know? Did Oishi kill them? Like, maybe have Oishi offhandedly be like, oh, hey, Keiichi's already taken care of, or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's how you can end that story, that cliffhanger. You don't need this pointless lie.
The moment you betray your audience trust, like, you can't get them reinvested because they've already been burnt.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so she takes out Teppei, bashes his face in, very similar to his wife, actually, which I thought was very interesting. I do like her immediate reaction, like after she's just staring down at the body and just goes, "Oh goodness me, I'm covered in blood. Oh dear." I do wonder why did she have to separate Keiichi from everyone? Like, what difference does it make?
I mean, I guess it was just setting up for Oishi, but I think there's other ways of doing it.
Yeah, it's just an odd thing. It's an odd thing. The whole thing is odd.
I previously how much I love Mad Oishi. I think he's like a bad guy because he's been such like a trusted source of information, and just as a person, and then you just go cuckoo for Cocoa Pops.
Also, I do like that as he's going on his rampage, we cut to Aowa, Featherine, whatever, just sitting in the void with a cup of tea. Once again, because I've been working on Doctor Who stuff, I just heard in the back of my head, "You're probably wondering, how did I get the tea?" Answer: I'm the Doctor. Just accept it.
Something I do love, like after Oishi has gone back to the festival, killing everyone, and Saiko comes back, she double taps. Always double tap.
I was taking a drink, I nearly spat it out there. All in all, I remember when I first watched this arc week to week that I actually kind of... I felt like I enjoyed it, but when I did this one, I felt like I enjoyed it less, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Put under scrutiny, put under a microscope, I was like, yeah. But yeah, it still was what it was.
Clearly by episode 8, when I just refused to write notes anymore.
Yeah.
I think you can tell what I think of this, of how I was feeling at this point.
Yeah. So, the current final arc, the God Entertaining arc.
It wasn't that.
It's questionable. Baby Rika is always a win. I don't care what anyone says.
I really like the opening scene. It was nice.
It was nice.
Yeah.
In that opening scene, Hanyu's all like, obviously, when Rika was born, she was able to finally re-experience the world properly. And she mentions the first 1983, obviously when the events happened and she turned Rika into a looper. I am so interested in what happened in that initial loop. Well, not even that initial loop. I really want to know what happened in that first 1989. I am so interested in it. I want to know what story happened. I want to know if anyone actually went crazy that time. I want to know how this story began.
Could you just like imagine like Hemo's reaction? Just like seeing this world just burn around her.
Yeah, and then being like, "There's a way I can save my great great grandchild. I can stick her in a loop. We'll be able to work our way through this." And then slowly realizing, "Oh crap, this was a bad idea."
I've just damned this little girl to 100 years of torture.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, I'll be completely honest. When Go was first announced, I alluded to the that we'd see stuff that we'd already seen, but from a slightly different angle. What I meant by that is seeing some of these different loops from the initial 100 years. I was
Yeah,
expecting like an anthology series, so exploring the original 1981, exploring the first loop where Rika would first wake up and be like, "Oh hey, what's going on?" and Hanyu being like, "Look, I've put you in a loop. We can work through this. Everything will be fine." And then showing different stories that happened that we just didn't see before. I really want to know what Rika's last Christmas was, because of how as Hanyu's power wavered, her reincarnations got closer and closer and closer to June of 1983. So I really want to know what her, because she probably spent her last Christmas just being like whatever, but then next loop over, she's like, "Oh wait, I'm not gonna have Christmas anymore." She eventually doesn't experience snow for God knows how many years. You could then do like a counterpoint to that story where after they obviously break the loops and they continue through 1983, what was her first reaction to seeing snowfall after like God knows how many years? I would imagine she cried. I would imagine she would have an absolute whale of a time, you know? There is so much I would love to see these characters do, and the likelihood of that happening is extremely low, and that's kind of sad.
so, it'd be really nice to see, like with the idea for the anthology series. Let's say every 20 years is a different arc. How she starts off more hopeful, okay, this will work, and then slowly keeps getting more depressed and like
Mm.
accepting her fate.
Like, let's see the world where she actually just upfrontly tells the gang, "So, I've kind of been Groundhog Daying it. Why don't we all just band together, let's work together, let's see what happens." Because one thing I've always kind of wanted, and I'm a little iffy on this idea, honestly, but I've kind of wanted the gang to find out about the looping, and to find out that Rika, and by proxy now Satoko, have gone through this.
Yeah.
And I think that like there's so many what ifs you could do with this, and we're just likely never going to get that.
Yeah.
Reading between the lines and from a shot that we see, it's implied that after the dice killing arc, which was the third, fourth, and fifth episode, third, fourth, and fifth? No, second, third, and fourth episode of series 3, Re, it's implied that Hanyu returned to the Sea of Fragments. So she might not be an echo at all, but actually real Hanyu.
Right.
However, because, and I know this might be controversial, since Kira exists, we kind of know that Hanyu didn't return to the Sea of Fragments, because you had that one episode with the Magnetana in Re, you had the last 2 episodes of Kira, which are actually okay, and you could fit into the timeline if you really wanted to. Like, those events happened, and Hanyu was there. I legitimately wonder if we have a divergent timeline situation.
Possibly. It's hard to say because I haven't obviously I haven't seen Kira,
Yeah.
but from what I've seen of season 3, for me season 3 kind of just say just it's kind of like something you just put to the side quite easily.
Well, hang on. Let me grab the manga real quick. Because they actually show a scene from the end of the Dice Killing arc where, because Rika's obviously been in an accident, Hanyu sends her into like a fake world.
Yeah.
And then like that arc ends with Rika asleep and Hanyu Hanyu says this: Rika, thank you for figuring it out. That was where I felt I had wronged you the most. Now I finally feel like I've atoned, sir. It's all right, Rika. Your hands are not stained with your mother's blood. It was all a dream. A dream that I showed you in the midst of mischievousness. So when you wake from your sleep, I want you to have forgotten all about this. I want you to be able to think of your own happiness. For now, sleep deep and sleep long. Good night, Rika. And that's the little bit that we see in this episode here, with Hanyu fading away back into the Sea of Fragments. Again, we've got the episode after that in Re. We have the 2 final episodes of Kira, which I honestly believe are canon, in my head canon, to the anime at least. I do wonder if we have a divergent timeline. The timeline where Hanyu stays in the real world, we don't know what happens.
Yeah.
This is the timeline where Hanyu disappears. So, you could argue that none of this, like if you don't like this story, which we kind of don't, then, you know, it's just a divergent timeline.
I'm getting a bit sick of divergent timelines when they're doing reboots nowadays. Like, honestly, I don't know how to feel about this.
To be fair, this isn't confirmed. This is my madcap theory.
Yeah. For me personally, because obviously I haven't watched all of Higurashi or read all the manga, it hasn't really affected me.
Yeah.
Mainly because I just don't have all the information for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe once I've watched Kira and stuff like that.
Yeah. So anyway, she reveals that the sword can kill loopers, and Satoko, being the bitch that she is, goes and grabs it. I want to see the alternate timeline where Satoko gets stabbed by that sword and dies.
It would have been so funny, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, would be great. Oh right, now here's one of the most egregious things I think, particularly Sotsu did. The 5 more loops really excited me last time.
Yes.
And the one thing I said is that I would love to see these loops explored more.
Yes.
They were hardly expanded on.
Yes.
And it's arguably the biggest letdown of this series. Arguably, because we've got some more things we don't like.
I think, as an overall, the last 2 seasons, I think the biggest complaint we had for last season was the repetitiveness.
Yes.
If I had these, like, when this turned up, when last season and this season, it's like, oh, this is so cool. Like, well, how did this happen? How did this begin? This would be really cool to explore. No, guys, remember that stuff from, like, years ago? We're going to do that again. But this new stuff. No. You like the old stuff? We're doing the old stuff. Something I did love. It was when Psycho had came and it was Mion Shion's mum slicing everyone's heads off.
Yeah.
It was some really bad editing. This is the point where I mentioned earlier about it looked like Satoko's hand holding the gun just flied into the scene, not attached to her arm.
Oh, okay.
It looked like someone, when someone dubs some. The best scene I can relate this to is in Dragon Ball Z Abridged, where Frieza has to point the way to his ship.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
It looked like that with the gun.
Not sure if that's a dig against Shuyo Pishone or a compliment to Kaiser Neko. But also, like, Satoko being able to dodge the, her sword. Another example of her being unnecessarily OP.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, you're going to kill yourself eventually. Just let her stab you, for goodness sake. Rika's already dead. You're not going to loop into a world where she's not there. Very interesting thing I found, as Hanyu makes her way into the same place that Ayuwa Feverine is. She says that you found your way onto my wavelength. So apparently the planes of reality and the sea of fragments work on wavelengths.
it's like the Flash and the DC universe where it's just different
Yeah.
vibrations. And he comes in and they have a little bit of fight and then gets chained up.
Yeah, a lot of people were happy with that. Yep. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little disappointed that they ruined my Satoko keeps looping back to get the ritual right joke, like I said last time. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, it was always a joke, I didn't mean it seriously, but it is a little sad that it's just like, no, yeah, I know the ritual dance. I also wonder if Satoko actually injected herself with the virus in that instance, or if she was just, you know, being herself.
Yeah.
Right.
Here we go.
Finally get back to the gun scene. I want to say, I do find it kind of interesting that first 13 episodes of Go started off quite well, got to a low point, then from 14 to the end of that series, relatively high opinion, wavering a little places to the end of there. Coming into these first 13 episodes, still pretty high, wavering a little bit, gradually going down as we go. We then get to episode 14, which was like released the week after I put the retrospective out. So I'm in like prime Higurashi mood, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, we finally get back to the scene, we finally get to the gun scene. I'm like, what's gonna happen? What cool thing's gonna happen? And it's just over like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we've waited 13 episodes and a couple of months to see what happened. Underwhelming, but I think it's very Christopher Nolan-esque. In that, like, you know, like there's not some grand spectacle. Like when Bane breaks Batman's back in The Dark Knight Rises, it's not like slowed down, there's no music, it's just bam, his back's broken. With this, it's just bam, they're dead now. Which, yeah, is a bit disappointing. I would have liked more stuff to happen. I would have liked, you know, Rena, Keiichi, and Mion to actually do something.
Yeah.
But it
like,
is what it is.
Leading into the next episode as well, it feels very strange that we know more than Rika does about the situation.
Yeah. Again, though, at this point, it is Satoko's story.
Oh, I totally agree with that. I do think it should be Psycho's story, but going into the conflict next between these two,
yeah,
it's very strange that she doesn't have a full picture of the situation.
Yeah.
And I think she needed to be catched up on what's happened. Because for all she knows, she could have been she could have turned out really bad in the future. I mean, she kind of did, but
yeah.
And she could have done something really awful to Psycho, and she wouldn't know it because she hasn't.
Well, it depends from when in the future timeline she actually got put back into the loop, because she clearly knows about Saint Lucia. We don't know when Rika's consciousness was flung back.
No.
To her childlike body, which is another problem, I guess. We need to know where Rika's at in these events, because there's actually a bit in the final episode which does scratch my head.
Yes.
But let's get to that bit then, because I just want to say, these first 10 minutes of them just brutally beating each other up.
It's hilarious.
I fucking love it.
Oh, it was a frying pan for me. That was like...
The frying pan is great. The sizzle as well.
It was just like... I don't know if they were trying to make us feel this way, because I think we were supposed to feel quite bad, but it was just hilarious.
No, actually, the one I really like is literally the first one. Sadako grabs the fork, jabs it in Rika's throat, twists it, pulls it out, and just like, you make it sound like it's my fault. And I'm just like, it is! It is your fault! Actually, I really want to know what happens in that reality, because as we all know, even when loopers die, these worlds continue on. I really want to know what happens in all of these worlds after these events happen.
Yeah.
Because it's just got to be like, what? What?
And I think that's something we should add. As funny and a little bit cool, but as funny as these scenes are, it completely breaks the rules of looping.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. It breaks like these rules of looping unless Satoko is winning every single time, which isn't true. But like it breaks the rules of these loopings. They're just getting thrown across time. But it is really cool.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm still on board with it. The rule of cool kind of overwrites that for me at this point.
It doesn't quite for me. I think if he could have did like a throwaway line, say the gods are fighting, their powers kind of like disrupting timelines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. But for me, it was just like bit of like
Yeah.
But go on.
Rika finally getting the upper hand was so damn satisfying. After
Yeah.
all this time, to finally be on like the front foot, that was a good feeling. I also loved it when she grabbed the chair and just started beating up Satoko again. I was like, she got the chair! She's got the chair!
My God, she's got to put it up for the one-winged angel.
Sephiroth's out the window, just like, what? Oh, right. No, like I love how it culminates as well on like with them on the roof,
That was
with
a really nice
the
callback.
hatchet and the bat. I'm not gonna lie though, for like a couple of like when I first saw it, I was watching it for a couple of seconds. I was like, why doesn't Satoko have the hatchet, which is like the more naturally sharper and deadlier weapon? And it legit took me just a couple of seconds to be like, oh wait, that's her brother's bat.
Yeah.
People don't understand. I'm a fucking idiot.
Like this whole like epic drama and stuff like that, it just kind of comes down to like two kids just fighting a bit. I don't want to
Yeah, no, that's the beautiful thing. These two are like over 100 years old, and like they try to act all high and mighty and that they know everything, and it just comes down to a simple like playground scuffle. It's so good.
Oh God.
And then she gets Rika gets the broken bit of the sword, and she gets a costume change, and she goes Super Saiyan, and then Satoko does too, and they have a Dragon Ball Z battle, and it's like, oh,
Go and see my note for this.
what's your note for this?
Can I have my Higurashi back now, please?
You know, that was the exact same. Like here's the thing. I was watching. I had the opportunity to put this on my big TV downstairs, and I saw from Twitter that this was getting like a lot of talk. So I was like, right, I'm just gonna have to watch this as soon as possible. So I'm watching this, and a part of me is like, I should be enjoying this. Why am I not enjoying this? And then, like you said, just like over time, I just sort of dawned on me that just this isn't Higurashi anymore.
No.
This is stereotypical anime fighto kind of thing. I honestly think if they had stuck with just jumping through loops as normal people, conditional clause, if they just continued doing that for the rest of the episode, I would have been fine with it. Like, grab the sword. Yeah, grab the sword, but you don't need the Super Saiyan powers. Like, I realised that they kind of alluded to it in the opening title sequence, but the title sequence doesn't necessarily have to reflect what happens in the show.
It can be symbolic.
Yeah. I always saw that those, like, literally they're clashing wills and stuff.
Yeah.
Not literally... Again, well, actually, no, yeah. Rika goes Super Saiyan Blue, and then Satoko's got the Super Saiyan Berserker form that Broly has in the movie.
Yeah.
It's like, this... What? I just... What? There's a great picture online, actually, of, like you see Satoko and Rika fighting in the distance, and then you've got Keiichi, Renner, and Mion watching it, and I think Mion just goes, So can we do that? Because it's literally just like, what the fuck are they doing right now? I legitimately spent the next week just like because I watched it, and I just spent the next week just to myself, like this was a constant thought throughout the whole week. Has Higurashi finally jumped the shark? And you know what? I think it did.
Yeah, I be honest, yeah.
I think this is where it finally lost me. It took what? It's going to be 9 years this Christmas. It took nearly 9 years of my conflicting thoughts and opinions on how Higurashi works for me to finally go, okay, this is maybe one step too far.
Yeah.
And I'd be lying if I didn't say I think it impeded my enjoyment of the final episode. And it even kind of impeded how I look back at Go and Sotsu now, being like, oh hey, it's only so many episodes until the Dragon Ball Z fight. And here's the thing, I really like Dragon Ball Z. Really do. I even like the Boo arc, for goodness sake.
Like we've like me and Michael, we've gone to see the movies in the cinema together.
Our friendship was basically formed on Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I want to see Dragon Ball Z stuff in everything.
No. Like, I'm a massive One Piece fan.
Yeah.
They started turning Super Saiyan and started flying around and stuff. I was like, well, that's not really how this universe works.
That's not the appeal of this universe.
Yeah.
It literally is the appeal is these screaming kids doing, to use another Doctor Who reference, you screaming kids to just doing things, and this just doesn't, going off what I what I opened with, this didn't feel like the satisfying ending that I was A, expecting, B, hoping, and C, wanted, hoped for.
I think how the way the last season finished, you could have took this in many different ways.
Yeah.
I think you asked 10 people, they would have thought of 10 different ways this could have ended. Like, we had predictions at the end of the last podcast, I believe, right?
Yep, I can't remember what any of them were, but they were nowhere near correct.
No, I had one, and I'm going to bring that up later. And
what, Shion was going to be the third god? Well, how did that work out when she was hardly in the series?
I'm still crying about that. No, it was about Sasuke winning, but I think if you ask 10 different people, they would come up with 10 different ways this could have ended.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone would come up with this way to end because it's bloody stupid.
So Rika sort of wins.
Yeah.
Thank God. Throws the sword into the river, and it magically appears in the void in the Sea of Fragments. So apparently, if Keiichi had continued down that river in fucking curse killing, he would have ended up in the Sea of Fragments.
So, Hino said they would win because of a miracle.
Yeah.
And the thing is, in season 2, back to Bullet Mist, that felt earned.
Oh yeah,
because they had worked so hard to get this future where they're all safe and all together.
Yeah.
It felt earned. This did not feel earned. Rika did nothing. Like, she didn't.
What are you talking about? She got dressed up. She put her hair in a ponytail. She threw a sword over a bridge. Even then, does Rika doesn't even know that Hanyu's there.
Exactly. This is just Deus Ex Machina at its most biased, because nothing was earned, and that's the difference.
Also, Hanyu with the sword, cutting Iowa, literally, and being like, oh hey, the people of Hinamizawa and their spirits are all in this sword or whatever. Everyone, even Sadako. That is literally how the Goku Black arc ended in Dragon Ball Super.
Of course.
It's literally how the Goku Black arc ends.
Oh.
So yeah, that all happens.
Yeah,
They end up back in the real world. I'm not sure if it's even the original world that they first appeared in, because they're wearing the costumes they had when Sadako first touched the horn.
yeah,
And it looks like it. And it looks like they're in the real world, but if I remember, it was dark when she got to the shrine.
yeah.
So it might have gone back a bit in time. I don't know.
In
It
this,
just again, it just makes no sense. It makes no sense. Even with everything that has happened, it is ultimately a good message.
mm,
Whether it had to be taught like this is questionable.
yeah,
It is a nice message, and it is nice that they do sort of make up in the end. But I would be lying if I didn't say that Satoko didn't earn it.
so
She gets let off too easily, I think.
I totally agree. But basically, I like this. I do like this ending of like sometimes sisters do need to be apart from each other.
Yeah.
And this is my problem with the split personality, the witch thing.
Yeah.
It's an out. I do think Psycho was actually trapped dirty at St. Lucius by by Rika. Sorry,
Yeah.
I do actually believe that, but that doesn't justify her actions.
No.
She has murdered all her friends.
Yes.
She has tortured her friends. She literally
Yes.
took the belly of her closest friend.
Yes.
And
The person she loves as well, most importantly. Like literal I want to be with you forever love. You know, that true kind of love.
you can't be let off that easily.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you can't.
And
And
and look, Higurashi's whole thing is forgiveness. Like literally the atonement arc is a thing. And it is about forgiving people for what they've done in the past. And this is sort of like what I said earlier, and how I kind of wish that, or I wouldn't mind it if the rest of the gang found out that they'd sort of been in a loop for donkey's years. I wonder if that opinion, if they would still forgive her if they knew.
yeah,
Like, it's all well and good if Rika forgives her, but I would like to know it. Like, honestly, you could like that would actually be a really interesting scene if like they found out and maybe like Keiichi and like Keiichi, Ren, and Mion are all like, "How did you do that? We're your best friends and all that," and they're like, whatever, we're gonna go, whatever," and then Rika being like, "No, wait, guys, come on, it was bad, it's happened, but we should forgive her," and then she can give some nice big rousing speech, have them realize that like Satoko should be forgiven, and have Satoko actually feel sorry, have
yeah.
Satoko actually be like, look, I realize I did terrible things to literally everyone, and then have them forgive her that way.
Like, I think we both admit we do like this idea of having to be apart, especially because these two have been together for so long.
Yeah.
They're both each other's support system,
Yeah.
but when you mature and you get older, you separate, and it's harder first. And I think, honestly, that is a really nice way of tackling it. And I think Higurashi is perfect for that.
Yeah.
It could have been done so much better.
Yeah. I can't help but wonder if there's like one more loop. The way that it's worded makes it look as if Rika is heading off to St. Lucius for the first time. Because she's like, oh, hey, you said that I make fancy friends there. That's cool. Again, it all depends on where in Rika's timeline her consciousness was plucked from. And I would have imagined that it was some point when she'd actually, when she'd actually been to St. Lucia because of her wanting to go back there. Actually, you know what? It has to be another loop because everyone's attitude towards Teppei is just not what it would have been before this.
Yeah.
Even Teppei just being like, "Oh, hey, I'm an okay guy now."
It kind of just feels like a merging of all the previous time, the best bits of each time loop.
Maybe,
You know what I mean?
I don't know. But it's so weird having Shion of all people, to be in a position to call Teppei uncle.
Yeah.
You know, that's just what.
Higurashi has been quite kind of broken parts a little bit, like with like season 3, with like characters turning up who shouldn't be there. But it does feel quite egregious here, especially because those ones you kind of can just put them to the side. This, because it is the ending of this whole season, it does feel a bit weird.
Also, Hanyu is apparently back in the land of the living now or something, on top of the gate. I don't know what even. How? Why? What's happening? Someone
Ooh,
explain, please. But we can't, because that's the end of the series.
yeah.
And here's the thing, like, even with all of this iconography, cuts to characters, seeing, like, Takano and Jiro returning to the E-Ray clinic, seeing fucking Chie, like, doing stuff in the garden or whatever, friggin' Oishi going to his old partner's grave and that, and friggin' like the leader of the wild dogs just going to the airport. He's like, yeah, I got past airport security.
I don't think we've seen you in the last 2 seasons.
He was in one scene in Go. Like, look, even with all of that, even playing frigging like a new, I assume it's a new version of DAU, which is like a franchise staple. Even with all of this, making it feel like this is the end, I felt nothing.
Yeah.
I got more of a finality feeling from the final episode of Kira. And that might be sacrilege on so many fronts. But, like, the fact that I can look at the ending of Series 1 and consider that a better ending than this kind of says a lot.
So, something you mentioned earlier about getting through these first parts and waiting for the next, like how last season, how it's like, you get through these repeat arcs, and then you have this fantastic ending. I very, very much felt like this is how this season was going to go. Like, all the way through, like, okay, just get through these repeats, and then the last, God knows how many episodes will be fantastic. And then you kept getting closer and closer to, like, the end of the series. It's like, you won't have enough time to wrap all this up. How are we going to fit all this in?
Oh, mate, it was so annoying in the lead up because we didn't know there was going to be 15 episodes. There was rumors there was going to be. So I think it got to episode 9 or 10, and I was ready to do like my usual post of like, oh hey, here's my opinion on this arc. And then it was like, oh hey, here's part 5 next week. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't think. Look, if you're going to have 15 episodes, are you going to have enough time to wrap this up? I will freely admit, I do wonder if COVID had any part to play in not only the releasing of the series, because obviously Go was pushed back a couple of months before it aired, but I do wonder if COVID being a thing made this series shorter, whether they had to cut down on episodes and runtime and stuff like that.
Like, Captain Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yes.
Like, if I ever rewatch that, I've always got to take it in that COVID had changed a lot of things. And it
God, yeah.
So I think, like, we don't know if that's for the case for this. It could be, it could not be, but that's maybe something we do need to take into account. But at the end of the day, we do have to view what we've been given.
Yes.
Which, is a difficult position to be in. It's not fair in many ways, but...
Oh, no.
But it is what it is, at the end of the day, sadly.
So, we actually have a very special little segment now. The director of Studio Weeb 07, I don't know if he's alright with me using his name, so I'm actually going to use his username, which is Kingside Castle 13. He sent me some information regarding particularly the last episode. So he just wanted to throw in mainly covering Umineko information. So Aoya's horn gets getting cracked when Hanyu attacks her with the sword is actually a piece of Umineko lore. Prior to Umineko's story events, according to Lambda Delta, which we believe to be Satoko's witch personality, it's a bit questionable. We used to believe that it was Takano, actually, but maybe not, who knows. Feverine, Aoya, her memory device whatever that means, was damaged at one point, and this caused her physical appearance and personality to change drastically. According to Lambda, it took her a long while to revert to her old self. This for some time was believed to mean that Feverine turned into Hanyu. But given what we witnessed, this may no longer be the case. There is a fair few references, to be fair, that like when she keeps calling Hanyu my beautiful failure or something like that. So I did wonder what the connection was between them there.
Yeah.
The top of Aowa's staff gets broken off, and it resembles a cane now, making it perfectly resemble Feverine's cane, which she has, so that's a thing. There are some key mistranslations that change the context for what's going on. So, honestly, makes me more excited to see what the dub does to get, like, the full version. During what some fans call the Shonen battle, Rika says, "Let's kill everybody else and start over." This is not what she meant. What she meant was more along the lines of, "Let's wipe everything out and start over." This is important because of a scene where in Umineko where Battler, the main character, who also made a cameo appearance in the Higurashi Retrospective, being a fan of boats, witnessed a fight between Lambda and Burn, which is Rika's other personality. He notices that with each attack, a big bang occurs, and a universe is born, followed by the next attack, which causes a big crush, destroying the universe that they'd made as a casualty of their battle. Essentially, the Shonen battle was like a primer to how the witches fight when they do the witches game. So that's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of lines up with what I'd heard beforehand, where the Umineko characters are ridiculously overpowered in terms of fictional characters. So that makes sense to me. The last line Rika and Satoko share is supposed to be a cheeky little bit of foreshadowing, but the translation kind of nerfs it. A better translation would be along the lines of "when something else cries," alluding to them being alluding to the Umineko, which, and this is where I first learned what Umineko really meant. Actually, yeah, okay, yeah. Before I tell you what Umineko actually translates to, what do you think the word translates to?
Umineko.
So let me break down like just certain words of Japanese phrases I do know. Umi obviously means water. We play Yu-Gi-Oh! Umi is the water field spell.
Makes sense.
Neko usually refers to a cat. Okay? So it sort of means water cat.
Okay.
What do you think an Umineko is?
The cat that cries?
No. Do you want to know what it is?
Go on, man.
Seagulls. When the seagulls cry. Learning that Umineko means seagull has ruined any kind of dramatic pretense that I imagined for it beforehand. So yeah, a better translation would be along the lines of "when something else cries," alluding it to it being seagulls. The conversation between Rika and Satoko when with the red eyes is almost word for word the type of conversation Lambert and Byrne would have. I'm pretty sure north, south, east, west was actually something they said, and I checked this later. I do have the translation somewhere else from the manga, which I can read in a little bit if people want. It's cheeky, but Aowa throwing furniture at Hanyu may be another Umineko reference itself. During the Witcher's game, they can enact what are basically NPCs, which are non-playable characters, I guess. I don't know. I have no fucking clue. These NPCs often look like humanoid bodies, but with goat heads, and they are called furniture. So, there you go. Someone noticed that when Hanyu declared that everyone's stronger than you think, being when she's got the sword and that, right before breaking Aowa's staff, the sound effect of Umineko's red truth can be faintly heard. the red truth as a mechanic from the Witcher's game, that would take a little bit to explain. So, fair dues. This next bit is from his own interpretation. While this will eventually lead to Umineko, both witches seem to have relinquished their bodies back to their human personalities for now. They both seem to have chosen to go dormant for the time being, as they will inevitably loop and be ready to chase after each other once they've lived out their natural lives. Just pausing there, I do wonder if when Rika and Satoko live to be a ripe old age or whatever, and then die, if they will loop back to, 1983, which would ultimately really suck, honestly.
Yeah, they did say something about having one last loop, didn't they?
Did they?
I think they were talking about when we meet in another loop or something like that, so I think it was just in, literally the last episode. Might be completely wrong, or maybe, but like I say, it kind of rings a bell.
Honestly, I find that kind of sad, honestly. Because the impression I always got from Festival Accompanying, the final proper arc of Higurashi, was that was the final loop. That Rika wouldn't be able to loop anymore because Hanyu's power is non-existent at that point.
Yeah.
So if they died there, then that would have been it. If they can continue to loop, regardless of that, does maybe questionably lessen the impact of that now? Maybe? Yeah. I don't know. They know they're essentially immortal, and that as such, they're the only ones that can truly understand one another. But rather than smother each other, they're going to give each other a little space first and let them live out their dreams. I should point out that Kingside Castle is actually a Doctor Who fan as well, because he quotes the 12th Doctor here. Actually, it reminds me how the 12th Doctor granted Ashilda immortality when he saved her, and gave her a second device that would do the same, saying to her, being immortal is very lonely. Essentially, there will come a day when Lambda Delta and Berncastle emerge from them, and they'll eventually find themselves at... Oh, great, thank you for giving me a word that I can't pronounce. Rokenjinjama. Short, Rokenjinjama Island. But for now, Rika and Satoko will live out their lives happily ever after. I now prepare for many people to shout at me for mispronouncing a thing again. Keep an eye out on the community. The events of Umineko take place on the 4th and 5th of October, and a lot of fans have a gut feeling that an Umineko anime might well be getting announced on one of those 2 days. It is, at the time of this recording, the 17th of October. There has been no news.
Awkward.
Right, so I do have the quote from Lamb and Burn here. So it's, where will you go next? I don't know who's saying this. Where will you go next? If you go north, then I will go south. If you go east, I will go west, Burn. So I'm assuming this is Lambda. It would be nice if you don't have to play the most hated role next story. Why? It was quite fun playing the part. There's another one here where Lamb is actually mentioning a train. So are you going to take a train to leave this fragment? So maybe that... Obviously, Rika leaves on a train. Oopa boopa. Here's an interesting little thing. So Oishi is last seen wearing a tan suit with a red tie and black shirt. The tan jacket and trousers are also worn by Battler, the main character of Umineko. But that's from lovely Kingside Castle there. Thank you, Kingside Castle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're very lazy. Thank you.
Thank you. We don't know what we're talking about. Have a good day. I'll get you those voice lines for the meme at some point when I have time. So I guess we wrap this up.
Yes.
Overall feelings towards the series. If it wasn't evident enough.
I think if you've lasted this long, you know how we feel. But so I finished this yesterday. I watched the final episode, and I was in a really bad mood.
Oh God!
I had to go for a walk just to clear my mind and stuff because it we get attached to characters and media by our nature.
Yeah,
and
media is important.
media is definitely important. And when things don't go well, we get very disappointed. And I think that's the best word I can use. I'm disappointed. We were so high on the ending of the last season.
Yeah,
Me personally, I think that might be my favorite arc. It's up there.
Village is destroying.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's definitely in my top 3. I
oh,
honestly loved it that much. And
very interesting.
coming to this, it, it's just disappointing. I can't put it any other way. What about you, Michael?
The best way to describe Go and Satsu as a whole package, which is really how it should be looked at. It's one whole package. It was maybe a bad idea to actually cover Sotsu when we did. Cover Go when we did. Started off really good, really high. Gradually got a bit as time gone on. You get to episode 14 and 15, Cat Deceiving Arc. Absolutely amazing. Stay high from there, right the way through into Sotsu. I'd even say continuing through to tentatively even say continuing through to episode 13 here. And then beginning half of 14, loved it. Then it jumps the shark, and I feel numb. I feel nothing. These characters that I have loved and have helped me through so many things over the last near enough 9 years. And I feel nothing.
This is meant to be the finale. This is supposed to be the full stop.
You never know at this point.
It just leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. And it was, to be honest, it was always going to be a bit of a sour note, just because of the story they went with. But
Yeah.
it would still be satisfying.
And that's not even to say that there aren't good things in here. I would definitely rewatch Go and Satsu again, maybe as a whole package, now that both series are out. Maybe my opinion will change watching it in one whole fail swoop, if that's even possible. I think I said this before, I can't remember, but I'm really interested to see someone do like a condensed fan edit of this. The one thing that I'm really going to take away from this, from Go and Satsu at this point, two things really. First of all, I'm very thankful that Higurashi came back into the limelight. That helped grow my channel to, well, a lot more than what it was doing, you know. The more important thing, and the thing that I'm really going to take away from Go and Satsu, for the longest time, there had only ever been like 3 other people that I'd met who had heard about Higurashi, who wanted to talk about it, and we had good conversations about it. The best thing about Go and Satsu has been interacting with the fandom. It's been seeing the artwork, it's been about theorizing with other fans, it's been about learning stupid little details that I never knew before. This has been the first time that I felt a part of a community. And no matter what the quality of the story is or how this ending is, I finally feel a part of this fandom, and nothing can take that from me.
Yeah.
I think that's it for this.
For real.
Yeah, bloody hell. No, yes, so thank you once again for watching this. I hope this will tide you over for opinions and stuff.
No, to be honest, it's just nice talking about it with you.
It has been. I've really enjoyed doing this. We should do this. We should do this more often.
Yeah,
we should just talk more often. Thank you all very much for watching. Obviously, the latest retrospective for the eye-opening arc came out last month. Do please check that out. Until then, I've been Michael Crewe from Crewe on the Sofa. You already knew that. And until next time, when the Higurashi cry.